So, welcome to everybody here and online. We are pleased that so many people are joining us today. So, we have the event is today hosted by Moyo, More Heart for Girls and Women of the World. And we would like to thank our funding sources, Land Tirol and University of Innsbruck, especially Maria Furtner, who is managing the master's program, Gender, Culture and Social Change. And we thank for your support. In the beginning, I would like to mention some reasons for our motion. Our president, Barbara Messner, she volunteered in a social project in East Africa, and she was experiencing social ills, especially for girls and women. And that was one of the reasons that in 2019, the non-profit association Moyo, More Heart for Girls and Women of this World was founded. Our goal is promoting the economics and social development of disadvantaged girls. Barbara visited Kenya, and that's the reason why we want to know a few facts about this country. The official language is Swahili and English. The capital is Nairobi, and last year the President William Ruto was elected. And it's always a challenge in Kenya when there are president elections, and especially it's dangerous for people to go on the streets because there are fights and riots sometimes. Kenya is independent since 1963. It was Great Britain. They came independent from, and there are 40 different ethnic groups and tribes in this country. So you can imagine that it's not always that easy to manage all those different interests. Here you see a map of Kenya, and the red part is Bungoma, where Barbara visited the social project. So Bungoma is the third largest state in Kenya, and most of the population lives in poverty in rural areas. There are a lot of mothers and widows, women with HIV and AIDS, and landless and unemployed people with their families. Half of the populations are children, and there are really big households. And schooling is often an issue because it's quite expensive for families. And if they have money, they usually send boys to schools because they think it's more appropriate. So our association has a focal point on girls. It's because of education, because we would like to fund the fees for the girls. And one thing is that girls are often forcibly married at the age of 14. So it's necessary that girls have education, that they get empowered. So for the girls' needs, it's necessary to provide them with food at school. If the way to school is too long, it's necessary that they are staying in boarding schools. And usually they have 5 to 10 kilometers to walk until they can get to school. So the distance is quite long. So housing in boarding schools is necessary. They have to pay for school uniforms, school fees, shoes, learning materials, and hygiene articles. And Barbara visited Disease. It's an organization founded by Sophie. And she will tell us later something about Disease and her organization in Kenya.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I am very, very grateful to see you here, to listen to me. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Sophie Kibuywa. Many of you have seen my pictures and you have also seen the report. We thought that me talking to you about objectives and all this kind of thing is not going to be interesting. So I thought I should share with you my life, why I arrived to where I have arrived, and who are the people who have journeyed with me here. I want to say that I was born in 1954, 24th June, in a village in Bungoma County, where you have already seen it there. I am among the children of my mother had 11 children. I am the 8th child. And during our childhood, we had my uncle who was killed, and we were brought another family of 12 children. So we lived in one house, and we had to do a lot to be able to help these children to grow up. My mother and my father were only subsistence farmers. They depended on maize, to plant maize and then harvest and sell to get the money. As a child, I watched this. I watched how my mother worked, collect firewood, milk the cows, go to the garden, and everything. And it was very difficult for us when we grew up. I remember we would have one blanket, 5 children, and we spent the whole night fighting because one takes the blanket, another one pulls the blanket that way, and by morning at 5 o'clock, 5:30, my father wakes us up, we have to go to school. And I said, I looked at the life of women in the village. It was a very difficult life. More so, I looked at the girls' life in the village, including myself. It was for me to reach standard 7 and get married and be part of the village, continue with the vicious circle of poverty. And one time, one girl was pregnant, and in our community, if you get pregnant before you get married, the family throws you out, and many times the father will throw you out with your mother because the father will say, it is you who didn't look after your daughter, that's why she got pregnant. And this girl was coming, my father was a village elder, and my father was solving those cases. And as a young girl, I listened to these cases, how my father was solving them, and I could see my father say, can you, the case is now, I've listened to it, you come tomorrow for the final decision. But my father always consulted my mother. And I would hear my mother say, supposing it is your daughter, what decision would you have made? And my father used to say, I would not like my daughter to be mistreated. This girl was mistreated so much that I felt a lot of pain because she was beaten, she's pregnant, she's beaten, she's told all words. And I said, women, we have nothing to protect ourselves. So from there, I said, I will go to school, and I must finish school. Whether it's Form 4, and then I go to college, I go to do social work, I want to come back in the village and assist the girls. And of course, I had a lot of problems because I was told, why am I not getting married? What am I doing? And so on. I didn't have school fees for 2 years. I had to stay at home because my parents could not manage to pay. It was a very hard time for me. I did a lot of manual work. And I said, no matter how long it takes, I want to go back to school. And therefore, I was lucky to go to the Loreto High School, one of the best schools in Kenya. And I passed my exam. And then when I finished, I went for training. And I was very happy that Meserio was able to pay for my school fees in college. So from there, I continued, and I said, I really want to work and assist. And where is the best place for me to work? I thought the church was the best place for me to work. I started working with the church. Then I had to leave to go to Canada for studies. Then I came back, and as young people from Africa, we would not like to come to Europe and go back. There is a lot of comfort here we see, that, you say, I don't want to go to that poverty. But I said, I have a mission to do. So I continued and finished in Canada and came back home. I started studying again. I was lucky again to get a sponsor because he found me in the village helping girls in my own house. And I trained in rural policy and project planning, but my whole thing was to help my people. So I worked for the church. I was discriminated so much as a woman. You can't do this. And I was sacked 2 times because I am a woman, I am a girl, I am single, and all this. I had all the bad things that you can call. So they said, this girl has some certain screws in her head which are loose. So she needs to be told what she's supposed to do. And I said, I'm not going to do that. And I worked for the diocese. I worked for the Catholic Church. I was discriminated. One time I was just sent away, and then I was beaten up because I was working on human rights, because I save some of these girls. When they are married early, I go there and talk and remove them and take them to the vocational training center. And I was sacked. But lucky enough, there are people here who are very important in my life, and I call Austria as my second home. When I was attacked, when I had that problem, there is one person, I hope he doesn't feel bad, Franz Heinzel, who was funding the Catholic Diocese of Bungoma from PCI, came to look and found that I was not there. And he asked, where is this woman? Where did this woman go? But I was doing work in the village on food. I went without any money, nothing. My mother used to ask me, why are you not going back to work? And I said, Mom, I'm resting a little bit, I'm going. Because I didn't tell her I've been sacked. And when I was beaten, it was very bad. I got traumatized. I fled the country. BSI, which the director was France, he brought me here for a month for me to heal, but it was taking long. We didn't know the intensity of the thing. So I had to go to Canada, where I was operated, counseled for a whole year. Then I was telling them I want to go back home. And these people didn't understand why I should go back home. They say, why can't you stay in Canada? There is really good life. I said, I want to see my mother. I want to go back in the village and see if I can put a smile, or even only one girl. I don't have money, I don't have anything, but I want to be there. So I came back home, and PCI continued to fund us and direct us. And I'm really, really very grateful for that. We moved, we have worked. I have worked in Mount Elgon trying to stop people cutting trees. And I was put in cell for being a mad woman. And today, the same people are saying we have to plant the trees. Because now there's no trees, the rain is not there, the people are getting sick with the typhoid. So I started that work, and we did a lot of other development work until somebody else jumped on the board from PCI again. Matthias is here, and he helped us to build a center. This center was helped by France, and Christine Power is here. She came to lay the foundation stone. And I want to tell you that has become a home for women, a home for defiled children. The girls, they come there, they sit, they eat lunch, and they study and go back. You people, you should come back and see that place. I want to say that working for injustice is not easy. I've paid a big price for working for injustices because I was beaten up. I have now a problem with my leg. I can't walk because it was treated, but it's not okay. And all of a sudden, it has gone haywire. So, to get the story short, when we had Barbara wanted to come to Kenya, and I welcomed her to come to Kenya. And we went with Barbara in the schools. She came just as a volunteer, just to rest and look around. And she saw the pathetic situation of the schools, of the girl child, how they are treated, and how they are. And in one of the schools, one girl who passed so well walked for 40 kilometers to come to school, no school fees, no shoes, no anything. And she told the teachers, I'm not going. I have to learn. And if you send me away, I'm committing a suicide. And that is some of the children that Moyo is now assisting. And I want to thank you so much for that. In Kenya, we have so many children. You know, one class is 100 children. One school, one primary school is about 2,000 children. And I'm telling you, these children are giving birth at a very early age. And I want to say, Action Reckon, which is represented here with Mama Margaret and Annalise, they are going in those schools, those what we call day schools, where the girls walk for 10 to 20 kilometers to come to school. They wake up at 4 a.m., they come to school. But these girls are so vulnerable because we have the boys who ride motorcycles. They have qualified, they have degrees or diplomas, but they have no jobs. So when they carry these girls on the motorcycle, then they say, okay, I can carry you, you don't pay me, but I will sleep with you. And you will not get pregnant. And for sure, in one of the schools that Mama Margaret went and Annalise are, girls were getting pregnant like in a month, 17 girls are pregnant. They are going home. And you know when they go home, they go to misery. Because, first of all, they are thrown out by their parents. They have no medical facility. They have no nothing. Some of the girls just end up either go to do illegal abortion, and some of them die. Some of them are having problems. But I want to say here that because of that program, we are now reaching so many girls, and we go to school. The girls you see in the pictures, during the holidays, we bring them in the center. We are counseling them, we are talking to them, and we are telling them about their rights. Because the Kenya Constitution has a Bill of Rights which gives a lot of rights to people, but people have no idea. Women in the village have no idea. But I'm happy to report because of these workshops over time, education over time, the women now are taking up leadership positions. They are now articulating their problems. Even if you take one of these girls and she goes to the committee, even if a member of parliament is around, this girl will stand and say, this is our problem, we want this. And I want to say that has really helped girls, and I'm happy for that. Of course, these girls have a lot of needs. In our schools, they say school fees is free. It is not true. You have to pay for the uniform, you have to pay for the test, you have to pay for the books, you have to pay. For the teachers, 10 o'clock tea, lunchtime, you have also to pay. So a poor person cannot be able to pay. So in the primary school, you have children paying like 3,000, but there are small things that they need that you need to give. So we buy beans and maize and cook for them at lunchtime so they can remain in school and they can be able to learn. I don't want to talk to you so many things, but for me, I'm motivated. Why am I motivated to do this work? Despite the fact that there are a lot of risks, it is because I went through the pain. And I don't want another woman, another girl to go through the pain. I'm ready to go for another mile to make sure that at least I change a life of a person. I'm a very receptive person. I like other cultures. I like other people. I like other challenges, and that's why I continue to be the way I continue. Because from the violence I had, I would have chickened out and it disappeared in the thin airs. But I still go. But I'm still threatened, even now. Like some of the people, when they come to the center, they want the director of the center. And when they are told it is that woman who is the director, they say no. They refuse to see me and refuse to talk to me. But for me, it doesn't matter. Do I save a life? Do I put a smile on any one of these poor people? Yes. We have a women's program and we have a girls' program. Wonderful. So I want to thank you. I want to stop there because my life was full of ups and downs, and it is still full of ups and downs. But I said, yes, I'm one, but the people that we are helped are very many. And I want to tell you that empowering a girl child, empowering a woman, you are saving a whole African family, because it is the mother who does everything. So I want to thank you. I want to ask you, maybe you have questions which you like to ask me so that you know exactly what I do. But I am 24 hours on work. I'm not married, which is an anti-African. I don't have children, which is anti-African. I don't have a boyfriend, which is anti-African. And I have to live in that society. So you can imagine, this woman has some screws loose in her head. So I tell them, it's fine. You can come and fix them, but you will not succeed. Thank you so much to listening to me. Maybe if you ask questions, then I'm able to answer and you know. But this program is very important. It is very powerful. And if you want to save an African family, empower a woman. Then you are there. Because for us, our men get married to so many other wives. You can be here with the 2 children in your house, and he has so many children outside. So maybe I stop there. If I've gone too fast, I can speak very fast. And yeah. So.
Thank you so much. It's because I like the loose screws in your head. They're very good. And you have a lot of energy, which is also very good, no matter the ups and downs.
I do.
Okay? So
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
So as announced earlier, there is a microphone, and Maria will hop around and spread the micro if you want. So if anybody has questions, now is the time to ask. Maybe and I'll have to repeat that because otherwise the others don't hear at home.
Thank you.
I can speak and I just speak like this.
Yeah.
So I study peace and conflict studies here at the university, and my question is, this is again about peace as well. We can see, for example, in Uganda that schooling is free for women, but we don't see as well that women get not sent to school. So even if it's free. So my question would be, how do you change the picture of women in the society that educated women are important, and what role do they have for the peace in Kenya?
I think you better help me to explain me so that I know, because of the German accent, I may not get some.
The question was that he gave another example of Uganda, if I rightly remember.
Yeah.
It says like schooling is free there. It's not even free in Kenya, we got that. But it's cool in Uganda, but still girls can't go to school because their families don't send them.
Yes.
So the question was more or less, well, how can you do something about this and how is this handled?
Yes. Yes, the Ugandan, we use a method called training for transformation. Those who are at the university and wherever, and you can Google. Paulo Freire was a man who worked for the poor in Latin America and really empowered so many illiterate and semi-literate. We do what we call education awareness and training for transformation. We go in the village, one-day workshop. We are talking to the girls, to the women, the importance of going to school, the importance of learning, and so that for them they can access the spaces, the political spaces, the leadership spaces, so that they can be able to articulate their problem so that we can make our world better. And I want to tell you that this training, which we call Training for Transformation, it is just miraculous. Once the woman and girl goes through that training, they are never the same. They start on a Sunday, on a Friday, Saturday when they go home, they are completely changed. They are ready to face their situation and they are ready to change their situation. Why are you poor? Why can't you change? Why are you not able to read and write? Do you think reading and writing is good? And we talk about it. These funds were funded a lot with Brother and Sister in Need, and it has transformed our society. It was the same in Kenya. But in Uganda, they need somebody. You need somebody to come out, to leave your selfishness, me, I, and say, I go out. They need that. We trained some people in Uganda to try and help, but you see, it has a lot of critical issues for you to answer and to withstand. So they just need awareness and they will be able to do it. Right now we have communities in West Pokot who are also closed like that. We have communities who are squatters in Kenya. The child has never seen the door of school. But we went there and using training for transformation, trained 180 people. They are not the same. They are not the same now. They have started projects. When we went there, the Vocational Training Center had only 18 young people who are training. Today, there are 400 young people who are training and more are pushing for the cause. Our people lack knowledge. Our people lack education. You know, here you have a lot of information, internet and everything. In our areas, people don't have even a phone. Children don't have a laptop. They don't know what it is. If you go with this in the village, they will spend their time looking at that and listening to you because they have never seen it. So it needs some young people, some woman, some man to say, I'm going to educate my people, and it will work.
Great. I think that answers the question, yeah? Okay. Anybody else who wants to ask something? Also technical details. Yes?
Thank you for this very interesting report from Kenya. I know a little bit about Uganda. I have a project not similar to yours, but it's a project in Uganda, and for me, it was very difficult. We have been only a short time there, and then we started to help children to go to school in a very poor area. This is a bit the same, but I like your focus on the girls. I have to work together with the church. In Uganda, the school system is very connected with the Catholic Church, and I cannot do anything without the church. And maybe you can advise me to give the project we are doing more emphasis on girls.
This lady has a project in Uganda, which is very similar to yours, trying to send the children to school, but she always needs the Catholic Church to support her to decide.
Yeah, the Catholic Church is the...
She can't do anything without, but she likes this focus on girls more than on all the children, and she asks for advice, basically, how she can bring that focus into her project a little bit better.
To educate the children.
Girls, just focus on the girls more.
Yes.
Is the connection in Kenya between the official schools and the Catholic Church also as strong as in Uganda? Is it the same?
No.
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 Oh, that's good.
You don't need the church to do projects, but because the church was so much connected with the donors in the first world, that is how the funds came through the church. And they trusted the church. They would not trust the local person, but also the church has messed up some projects. And you know, the church, the first thing they want to do is spiritual focus. They don't focus anything on these other problems. They say, we cannot do it. But these people, they can register what they call a community-based organization. When we were funded by our brother and sister in North, we were not a church person. Okay, I came from the church, but I was not a church. We registered with the Ministry of Housing and Social Services, and we were funded directly, and we did the trainings with no problem. I want to tell you that if I was in the church today with the disease, I would have not made a move. Because I know that when I was there, when I started working on injustice, when people were fighting in Mount Elgon, some of the priests told me, it is none of our business. For us, our work is spiritual. And we pray with the people. And I said, but Father, you pray with the people who are dying, who are killing each other. Can we do something? They said no. I was sacked. I was thrown out of the church. But in Kenya or Uganda, you have other avenues. But you need to have a partner that you can be able to trust, to work with. Yeah. Yeah. You don't need all the time to align on the church or to align on the government. I am registered by the government, by the NGO Coordination Board. I only report. Anything legal, I'm the one responsible. I answer the way I want things to run. And so long as I'm not going to make riots and other things, we go ahead. So please, there are many avenues you can follow. Yeah.
I see Christina.
Thank you. Thank you, Sophie, for coming and telling us all these beautiful or engaged stories. The example with the boys who have the motorcycles and bring the girls to school, and that they are not employed and they just, how do you, I can imagine that boys have a big, they don't like the idea that the girls get so strong. Yeah. How can you get the boys into this new relationship between girls and boys?
Yes. First of all, thank you for that question. We call them border. They are motorcycle riders. They have degrees, they have diplomas, they have certificates. They are the ones used for every evil that can happen. What I did in the last general election, because they are the ones who are used to throw stones, to beat up women, to rape women, to do whatever. I had a budget of about 400,000 Kenya shillings. I called 42 key of these boys. And I told them, I want you to bring me more boys and girls whom we can talk together. We want to talk. I brought them in our center. We had a training for transformation for a whole week, talking about them being the channel of peace. Apparently, I used the prayer of St. Francis. And I think this has done miracles. These boys, we sent them out for them to organize, again, training for transformation, but for one day, for their peer groups, because they know who are the ones used. And I'm telling you, every day, every boy and girl, they organized a seminar for like 1,000 people, 800, and so on. And they invited the chiefs, the administration, the police. They worked with them. So before election, there was no violence because they were preaching peace. During the election, there was no violence because it is known to us in Bungoma and Trans Nzoia County that from Mount Elgon, all those tribes come to beat up the people and wherever. This time, no, they didn't. And these boys, we have formed a WhatsApp wall, and they have, when they finished the training, before and during the election, and after the election, we called them. We called them to come back and say, is there anything you saw different? Do you feel you are accepted? They say, Madam, I can now talk to the police, because the police used to call us thieves and rioters. I can now talk to the chief. I'm now on the committee for counseling people in the village. Madam, you have elevated us. We want to continue. So we have not left the boys. And we also talked about them pregnanting the girls, using the girls badly, and so on. They were telling us sometimes it's anger, frustration. You pour it on other people. But then we say, so you pour to an innocent person. What can we be able to do to live in harmony? These boys are now doing very well. We have incorporated them in the farmers group because we are dealing with 750 farmers. And they have also gotten some little support. And we called them, they did the evaluation, we gave them certificates. That was the peak. Oh, so you recognize us. They were lacking recognition. And now they have formed a group, we are working with them. And we are if we find funding, we are going to continue with them so that they also help other peer group. For the first time, even the government came to thank DSS for doing that. Yeah. So we are not only working with the boys, we are also working with the girls, but we are also working with the boys because they have to understand. And then there is another program we have where we have men, women, youth, and older people. And also using training for transformation. We sit a whole 5 days talking, analyzing our situation in the village, analyzing the problems that are affecting our village, and now we arrived at say, do we want to continue with these problems in the village? Then they say no. We ask them, now what can we do? You and me, what can we do? And they plan themselves, and they ask us, please now come to follow us. So whenever they were doing the workshops, my staff, I have a staff of 32 people, every 2 people went to accompany them when they are training. We gave them a soda, which they love. We gave them a chapati, small bread, and we gave them airtime of 200 Kenya shillings and said, Madam, you know, that man I called my girlfriend. I'm so happy. So they are ready. It is only that we neglected them. The system doesn't have room to assist them.
Does anybody else have a question? Now's the chance.
Is it taking too long?
Yeah, so thanks again for being here. My question is maybe a bit more practical. So you were saying that maybe we are there to empower the woman, and I'm now asking myself, how can we support? So do you have volunteers? Is it us to send clothes or money? Or what can we do other than just listen and spread it out? And yeah, what do you think, what is our role in that now?
First of all, I don't have specific answers to answer you, but I want to thank you that already what you are doing by giving Moyo some funds in a little way, it is helping. By you being here to listen to me, you now can be able to understand the situation and you can explain another person to understand why every African wants to come to Europe. It's because of the situation we are in. And if we understand, what can we be able to do to keep these young people at home? What Moyo is doing, you are giving them education, they are going to find their way to do their own things. Instead of them having their brain, I have to go to Austria in order for me to be rich, in order for me to live well. How do we, what do you do? We have to do with the people. Like now, if Moyo comes to us and say, okay, this is, what do you think we can do to be able to assist? It is not only money, it is also for us to, for you to understand us and to understand the situation we live in, and for us to understand your situation, then have a better dialogue for where now we can help each other in a better way. But if you are just going to have a project, donate the money, you have never gone there, you just give. These people don't know. I want to give you one example. We have a donor in Germany who is doing a lot of digging of wells for people who have no water. True, these people have no water, and they need the water, but they are not participating in any way in any decision making. Because even in our training, we don't say, we have a training here, we are going to take you to school, we are going to pay school fees. We sit with them and say, what do you think? What are your problems? What are your issues? What do you think are the priority issues we can work on to help? But what do you think will be more helpful to you? Tell us. And they will tell us, oh, if I go to school, I know then I may be, if I go to the vocational training center, I'm hoping to know how to sew, come out with a machine, and then be able to sew clothes for people, and they'll be independent. Please involve the people you are supporting in decision making. Even if it takes you a long time, go there, sit with the people, and say, what would you like to have? Because these donors from Germany, they are putting a lot of money, drilling wells. But when the tap breaks, the Pokot stand there and say, where is that white man? He came here, he has not come. Who is going to repair for this tap now? This water for this white man is here. Now, who is going to repair it? And they have reached a place where they are saying, what can we do? What wrong are we doing? And we are dialoguing with them and telling them, yes, water is needed, you have seen. Let us sit and train them. What is your priority? Maybe water is not their priority. They don't see water as a priority. But doing something else which is a priority to them will lead them to see the need of the water. So if they tell you, we want food, but they don't want the water, so discuss with them about the food. How do you get the food? What do we do to have the food? Then I say, oh, we will need rain. But if the rain is not there, what do we do? Oh, maybe it is good for us to drill a hole and have water tanks. So where can we drill it? Who are the people who are going to be involved? Who is the committee that is going to work with you? Then they will own the project. You may have just to go around to get to what they need. We listen to the people and say, what is your priority? Sometimes they can tell you something that is weird. You know, you say, no, this is not what you need. But at the end of the day, that is where they will reach. One example I want to give you, a diocese had money from America. They went to West Pokot, and they said, these people, the flies are going into their eyes, needing water, and so we dig for them the water. So, but I was asking them, I say, please, can you sit with this Pokot and say, what issues affect you and make you not to feel happy? Let them list, and then ask them, what do you think, which one can we start with helping you, then you can be better. And the person who was in charge that time told me, that is going to take a long time. We have the money, buy the pipes, go to Eldoret, get the pipes. We got the pipes. We took the pipes down the valley, And after 3 months, we were given 6 months to do that project. After 6 months, the Americans come. Let us go to the project. We see if the water is connected. And they arrived there, and the chief said, yes, sir, you gave us the pipes, but we have not piped the water. Then I said, but why? No, he said, we needed to make spears to fight our enemies. Insecurity was our problem. So if they would have gone and say, okay, you have insecurity problem. Okay, let us go to the government to organize to bring security. Then now you come to arrive at the water. It would have made sense. Many times we don't know the priority of the people. Even for us in the country, even our own government, they go somewhere and say, oh, this area here, I think you need cattle dips. They dig all the cattle dips and live there. People don't use them. What is their priority? And how are they going to arrive at what they want? Then they will have the energy. Paul Freire says, when people say what they want themselves, they will have the energy. But the problem, this method takes a long time. And the donors want the report quickly, and you bring the report on Tuesday, or you are not getting this money. So you do the project, not because the people have to, but because you have to report. So you are always in between reporting and wherever. And these are some of our hurdles that we have. Yes. Because the people, remember you are dealing with people who have never gone to school. They have never seen the door of school. But you want them to think on your level. They cannot. You have to bring them pole. How many years did it take you to reach the level you are now in school? And yet, Sophie, who has taken so many years to study, I want this woman who has never seen the door of school to give me a report within 2 hours, within 1 month, within 3 months. She doesn't understand. I have to work with her pole. And that is the dilemma we have. And then you say, be self-reliant in 3 years. By the time you take this, you lift this person to accept that poverty is not a God-given thing. To reach a level of saying no poverty, no, it takes some years. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that answers the question.
I hope I'm giving too much, but I think I want also you to have an idea. Hmm?
Anybody who still wants to ask questions, you're very welcome. Also practical ones, little ones, big ones.
I think
Let's smile a little bit, maybe that works.
we can say it's enough. Pardon? Maybe it is okay now.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
it's okay now. These were some very, very good questions and some brilliant answers. So thank you very much again. Do I do the closing now? Or, okay. So thank you very much again, people at home and people here in this lecture room. And I think everybody, you saw that in the faces, everybody was very, very, very interested to
Yeah,
listen to you.
and just before we close, I just wanted to say one thing. I really want to thank you for what you do. Don't regret what you do, for what you do for our people. We really appreciate. Many of you, you may not be there, you may not see, but we really do appreciate and use the resources you give us in the best way. And I'm welcoming any one of you who wants to come. Please, you are welcome. Just write and come. Thank you so much.
So that doesn't need any more closing words. But if you want more information, Moyo, that this association is on the web, so you can get any information you want, any opportunity to give money or go and see Sophie, and you were all invited. So I think this closes the evening, and thank you very much for your interest, and we hope to see you again.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So much.
I'm so grateful.